but I've never seen anything this big.
This week, a region that once worshipped the god of wine, vice and gluttony
I suppose it tastes so good it helps you forget how much you've eaten.
is now a stronghold for one of the world's most militant political parties, Hezbollah. But if there is debauchery to be found, I'm sure I can find it.
Cheers, thank you.
And take some secret recipes home with me.
This is honestly the best street food I've eaten in Lebanon. Absolutely amazing.
I love the flavours of the Middle East, and even better, taking that inspiration and creating something new in my own restaurant. But to really understand the food, you need to go to the source. And so, I'm off on a trip to search out age-old recipes and traditions of these ancient cultures. And then the fun part, bringing it to life in my own kitchen.
Almost makes waking up this early worth it. It's a nice view, isn't it?
For such a small country, Lebanon has many different and diverse regions. And I'm heading to the Bekaa Valley, a stronghold of the militant Islamic political party Hezbollah, and a place where alcohol is discouraged. But it wasn't always this way. Around 2,000 years ago, these ruins were Sin City, fueled by the massive Roman wine industry that flourished in the valley.
You know, it always amazed me how they can move pieces of stone so big, so high. You know, we grew up looking at temples with Dad in Malta and had all these old pictures, but I've never seen anything this big.
The Bekaa Valley was once known as the breadbasket of the Roman Empire. This fertile plain raised wheat and grapes that fed entire armies. And the city of Baalbek quite literally worshipped the god of wine.
Whoever thought that, you know, the 70s was sex, drugs and rock and roll? From what they're telling me, all these inscriptions have a meaning. You know, like the opium poppy, meaning to have a bloody good time, and it's eventually going to lead to death. And the wine leaves and grapes, obviously, wine, which a lot of it would have been consumed here. And the eggs, which have all broken off in here in the circle, you know, symbolising fertility. And I think after a lot of the opium, some of the wine, there would have been a hell of a lot of fertility in here.
All good things must come to an end, and when the Romans left Baalbek, their pagan ways were slowly forgotten. What was once party central is now a party stronghold.
It's pretty much a dry town now. It's a Hezbollah stronghold. But for what I'm here, there's some amazing street food in the little crevices of the market. So I'm going to see if I can have some lunch local style.
One local dish I've been dying to try is Sfiha. It's kind of a Lebanese meat pie, but with a difference. Here, you actually know what's inside.
Shukran. Thank you.
Because you get to choose the exact ingredients.
Just 1 kilo? Yes. Yeah. That's awesome. So I've just bought all the stuff that I need for my lunch from in the market. I bring it to the butcher. Just ordered 1 kilo. He's got some beef. He's going to chop it all up for me, the tomatoes, the onions, does all the prep for me. Jesus. You thought Dundee had a knife. That's a knife. I wouldn't want to argue with him. And then we're going to take it across the road, and there's a baker, and the baker's going to put it all in little Sfiha. This all happened so fast. You just pulled some meat off the carcass, grabbed a little bit of fat, and minced it before you could think.
Added to the lamb mince are my onions, tomato, and my favourite, chilli. Good chefs always taste their own work, and in Lebanon, so do the butchers.
Oh, har
Too hot. That's good. Thanks, shukran. This looks like a baker. Sfiha?
Welcome.
Thank you.
Sfiha are a great street food and have been filling the tummies of travellers through Baalbek for centuries.
That's awesome. No rolling pins, no nothing. The dough's tapped out till it's nice and flat and then rustically put together. This place is an absolute machine of a joint. They've got a bloke over there making them. He's whacked mine together in a tray, straight over there and about to go in the oven.
With so many tourists visiting the Roman ruins, the bakers of Baalbek have perfected the art of quick-to-make, easy-to-scoff street food and elevated this Sfiha to must-try status.
Oh, look at that. You know, I was hungry before, but I'm really hungry now.
How good is this? I feel like all my Christmases have come at once, and this is definitely something I'm going to make at home.
Oh. So hot. Everything I thought it would be and better. Pastry's awesome. This is honestly the best street food I've eaten in Lebanon. Absolutely amazing.
And don't worry, I've got a hungry camera crew to help me finish it off. It's hard to believe that this city, that once was the home of wine, orgies and gluttony, is now so pious. But an hour south is a town that's a lot less strict, where food and alcohol is freely embraced.
People in Zahle love to eat. They love their tummy.
Zahle is a mountain village that was once an important stop on the Silk Road. It was here that many caravans would stop to rest, eat and drink by the Badwani Gorge.
We're walking on one of the paths of the Silk Road, so you can find lots of old caravanserais and small shops that used to sell spices.
I've met up with Aziz Wardi, a Zahle local and history buff.
So imagine on this road, you used to have the merchants, the traders coming from far as Persia, getting the silk and the spices. And among the most important things, for me at least, that used to come on the Silk Roads, and for my family, is the aniseed that used to come, yes,
Yeah, it's important.
from Syria, yes.
As well as wine, the Bekaa is famous for its Arak, an aniseed flavoured drink that's similar to ouzo Iraqi. And Aziz sells his in this beautiful caravanserai, or roadside inn.
It's over 150 years old, and initially the lower part of it, where we are now, the animals used to stay, and the merchants and travelers used to stay on the upper level, which is straight on the main road. Now, part of it is a tasting room, and the other part is a display for old pieces that you used to use for the wine production and Arak production, because usually age Arak before drinking it for a couple of years. The best way to drink Arak is to blend 2/3 water and 1/3 Arak, and definitely add ice at the end. It's really nice. Cheers.
I've needed that today. It was
Me
warm.
too.
Arak is not designed to be drunk on its own. Rather, it's the perfect accompaniment to another local specialty, Meze.
Most Lebanese foods has lots of spices. So the Arak and the anise in the Arak blends, smoothens the taste. And the second thing is that you've got lots of raw meat in the Lebanese meze. And this is like a sterilization process for your tummy, so you don't get sick.
And I suppose it tastes so good it helps you forget how much you've eaten.
Definitely, of course.
Meze, or Meze, is a huge part of my food philosophy. And I'm lucky enough to have been invited to share a table with the family who own Hanna, the oldest restaurant in Zahle. I love eating Meze because you get to sample so many different tastes. And if there's one you don't like, don't worry. Someone else is sure to polish it off.
So how did all this meze come to be in Zahle?
Zahle was always a place for lots of travelers. And the first stop of everybody was coming first in Zahle, and then they would go to Beirut.
They all bring different food from their journeys and they sit down
true.
and they all trade.
That's true. They made small portions of everything everybody could taste. I mean, this dolama is Turkish, but we changed it.
I love these. My mother-in-law makes these and I always tell her that hers are the best, but I've got a feeling here in Lebanon these might be a bit better. Let's have a look. Sorry, Mum. These are a lot better than yours. So this is the actual spot where, you know, everyone used to come and eat the meze. So
Yes.
it's not just Zahle, it's actually this spot where people used to eat.
This is the place where it all began.
Beautiful.
And this restaurant started at 1,880.
Yeah, I know, that's amazing.
So
That's
before
amazing.
that, people were coming here to stay and to do that.
I think I have to try some of that kafta.
Kafta is basically ground meat mixed with some onions, parsley and some spices. And in this case, the meat served raw.
I'm a big fan of raw meat, but in Australia it's not so easy to find, you know, fresh meat this fresh. So when would this meat been slaughtered?
It's fresh, always fresh.
Today. Beautiful. It's really nice with the nut in there, with the mint. The sweet flavours of the meat and the rawness of the meat really goes well with the arak. It helps wash it down. You know, I don't know how well my body would digest, you know, a heap of raw meat like that without something like this to wash it down. But it's a perfect match.
And we have
Oh my God, there's more food. The guys are standing there with plates waiting to put them down. They're going to defeat me.
This is just the beginning. We are just in the start.
What do you mean?
Yeah, the food is just starting.
What do you mean?
We didn't have...
I can't eat anymore.
In Lebanon, refusing the offer of food is bad form, even if you are full.
Beautiful.
Although the pagan Roman ways of Baalbek are long gone, it's comforting to see some of their vices remain. And after I'm wheeled out of here...
Oh, I can't eat anymore.
Since the birth of agriculture, the Bekaa has been a crucial farming region, growing a variety of different crops.
So with the fall of the Roman Empire, winemaking was virtually lost to the Bekaa. And in the north, it's still a dry area, you know, you can't even drink alcohol. But as I'm heading further south, the ground's lightening up. I'm starting to see a lot of green. So I'm hoping they're producing some amazing wine and Arak. And I can't wait to see what's happening.
It was the mountain-living Maronites who kept the secret of winemaking alive through centuries of war and conflict. These days, it's pioneers like Ramzi Ghazan that have planted the roots of a modern Lebanese wine industry.
We started this winery, and it was a very daring move because it was the first winery set up after the war in Lebanon. And back then, we were 4 wineries, now we are above 40.
All the grapes here are still picked by hand, and the conditions that made the Bekaa such a great wine region 2,000 years ago still apply today.
Have you noticed the sun?
Yeah, I've noticed the sun.
And the light. Have you noticed the light? It's very bright in the Bekaa.
It was Ramsey's forefathers, the Phoenicians, who were the ones to introduce wine to Europe. And the unique terroir of the Bekaa Valley is one of the richest and most ancient in the world.
I don't believe in a wine culture without the food culture. And vice
versa.
Exactly. What would be the French food without the French wine? And what would be the French wine without the French food? And Lebanon is exactly the same. We have our food identity, and we develop wines that fit and match this culture.
One local dish that is a great accompaniment with these wines is smoked freekeh.
Freekeh is our traditional winter dish. We have to harvest the wheat while it's still green and smoke it.
To taste this smoked green wheat, Ramsey is going to show me a recipe for Freekeh Risotto. And I'm so excited to be eating and drinking produce that share the same soil.
Do you feel like having a glass of rosé wine?
I won't say no.
This is the raw freekeh that we smoked during spring.
It smells like really earthy, but I thought it would have a more smoky nose.
Well, it depends on the way it has been smoked, actually. Cheers, welcome.
All right, so what are we doing?
Well, we need to chop some onions. So I'm going to pour some olive oil from the region, from Tanayr. I like to have lots of onions in the...
Yeah, onions are flavour.
Just make sure not we overdo it, just to keep it soft a little bit.
Because it changes the flavour of the onion, doesn't it, when you cook it too much?
Of course. It gives some bitterness a little bit. Some caramelized taste.
Yeah, different flavour, different sweet.
flavor.
Just like when you're making your wine.
Exactly. We're getting close here.
I have to say, when I'm cooking at home, I always have a bottle of wine open. At home. At work, I can't have the luxury.
So we're going to add the freekeh.
You can smell the onions becoming sweet.
Yeah. I think we're ready to add the white wine.
Say when, chef.
Pour a generous... I think we're fine here.
It smells awesome. You can start to feel that freekeh come alive and the smokiness.
Exactly.
Wow. So you must need more liquid.
What we're going to use here, the stock.
Is that a meat stock or a vegetable stock?
Vegetable.
Vegetable stock. Just with the local vegetables?
Exactly.
Oh, perfect.
That works. Now we're going to prepare to put some fat in the pan with the shawarma so that we can roast our nuts. This shawarma is from the 2011 harvest that we prepared here locally.
And it's always lamb, the shawarma?
Of course, it's always lamb.
Okay.
As I've seen in the shoof, a shawarma is meat preserved for winter by boiling and sealing it in its own fat.
I think we have enough fat now.
More fat's always good. Okay, so you take the meat out and you just want the fat to cook the nuts in.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that smells awesome.
But we're going to use the meat at the end.
You know I'm going to use this recipe. I'll give you credit. I'll put your name on
Well,
there.
just raise a glass of wine and that's it.
Okay, done.
Don't forget to follow on the freekeh and to make sure there is always enough moisture.
Oh, it smells awesome. With a risotto, generally, you try not to move it too much, and the more you smash it around, you can break the grain. But with the freekeh, it's not an issue. You know, it's not gluggy. Oh, still a bit hard, I think.
It needs a minimum of 30 minutes, huh?
Something.
I guess that leaves us no choice but to drink more wine. As well as pistachios, pine nuts are added to the same pan.
It's the simple things that I love, you know, like cooking the nuts in the shawarma, but, you know, it's complex flavours.
And this is Lebanon, of course, where 2 types of nuts are never enough, and cashews round out the trifecta.
I think we're there.
And lastly, the awadama meat is added back to the fat.
You know, you could put that awadama with anything, and it's going to be good.
Of course. And now we're going to have a silver selection with the freekeh.
So this will sort of, you know, match with the smokiness.
Exactly.
The freekeh is so nice. It's so soft. You know, like the flavour's so...
Yeah, I love it very much. It brings some freshness to the whole meal.
And that awadama. It tastes different with each nut.
Of course.
You know, the way it tastes with the cashew.
Is not like the pine.
This is beautiful food. You know, this is what food should be.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Silver selection with that.
It's a perfect match.
Isn't it a match?
You know, this is the food of Lebanon that I was looking for. You know, there's culture, there's history, there's depth in this food that comes from the soil. You know, and it's not just soil that's just been planted, there's blood in this soil. People have given a part of themselves to create the Bekaa and create amazing food like this. You know, thank you very much. It's been an honour to be in your kitchen.
It's my pleasure.
You know, for a chef that's in love with Middle Eastern food, going to Zahle, the home of Meze, is sort of like, you know, a spiritual journey. Got to meet some great people, you know, Aziz, who makes that Arak that I've been serving in my restaurant and drinking for so many years. To finally meet the bloke, hear his story and see where they make that Arak really inspired me. Thought, let's do something that really shows the spirit of Meze. So I'm gonna do some Arak cured kingfish and serve it like a sashimi. Curing fish is one of the easiest things in the world to do. So what's going in there is just that sugar, some Lebanese sea salt, which is really minerally and great for this, and some Arak. I'm gonna put a little bit of cinnamon, just a little bit of star anise. I don't need too much. Remember that Arak's got a big aniseed flavour already. A couple of cardamom pods. A little bit of lemon peel in here now would be great. So just with a veggie peeler, plenty. Some fresh za'atar, lemon leaves. They smell great. People don't use these enough. And just get your hands in there, straight over the top. And honestly, that smells amazing. You know, you could easily overcure that. You could put that for 6 to 8 hours and it's gonna be cured, but you're gonna lose that freshness of the fish. But I reckon an hour and a half, that'll be done. Straight in our fridge. I'm gonna kick on to my next dish, something special from Baalbek. You know, no trip to Baalbek's complete without trying some Sfiha. And the ones I had were the best street food things I've ever eaten. They were so crunchy, and I think that the filling that I got to choose by going down those little market stalls and picking all my bits and pieces were great. I'm just gonna use a little bit of lamb leg. Look, I think it's a good idea not to buy store-bought mince. Even though it says lean, you don't know how much fat's in there. With something like this, you know exactly what you're getting, and you want meat rather than just fat. A little bit of garlic. Give it a good hit of salt, and my Aleppo pepper, because it goes great with meat. And just a bit of Lebanese 7-spice. I always like pumpkin with lamb. I remember that butcher freaking out with how much chili I put in there.
Oh, har. Har
Too
قوي.
hot. And he said to me that's something that they normally wouldn't put in, but I like chili, man, so it was going in. And because I don't carry machetes in my kitchen, like that bloke did, I'm over to the mincer. That pumpkin in there, I'm hoping when I cook it, sort of sweetens up the mix a bit. Just gonna give it a bit of a mix. Beautiful. I'm going to use the same type of simple pizza dough they used over there, but it was their technique that I liked. Really rough, really rustic, but it all added to the texture of the dish. So I'm not gonna go too chefy with this. I'm not gonna try to get them all the same shape, and I just wanna bash it out like he did. And this is street food at its best. You know, those things were great. All fresh, all cooked right in front of you. And all they did was crimp the edges, bring them together, and pretty much that was the Sfiha. And all those uneven ends on that Sfiha are gonna give us a great crunch once they come out of the oven. It's gonna take about 10 to 15 minutes to get nice and crispy. So I'm gonna move on to my other dish. For my second dish, I'm going to have a go at Ramsay's smoked freekeh. Now, I fell in love with this as soon as I got a chance, not just to taste it, but to see the grain. And what Ramsay was saying was true. The food of the Bekaa is really simple, but when it's cooked with good ingredients, it's perfect. So I'm going to start the base of the Freekeh Risotto off just the same way.
It's hard to buy smoked freekeh, so I've done it myself using a kettle barbecue. And from here, I've pretty much followed Ramsay's recipe, minus the glass of drinking wine.
Now, my addition to the dish. I love the freekeh, but I thought it'd be a good side dish, something to eat with some meat. So I'm going to make up a really simple marinade to rub some quails in. Garlic straight in the mortar and pestle, bit of salt, give it a hard time. Lebanese 7-spice, some honey, and some olive oil. I'm just going to rub that through the marinade. Try to get as much of that inside the bird, around all the joints. And in the oven, a really hot oven, about 220 degrees for about 10 minutes, so they're nicely caramelised.
Meanwhile, my first Meze plate of Sfiha smell ready.
Great. Just a little bit that I like to do. Grab some mint, just stick it in. Gives it a bit of freshness. It's pretty hard to beat those Sfiha in Baalbek, but I reckon mine aren't too shabby.
Meze is all about getting plates out quickly, and I think my kingfish might just be done.
And when you pull back that salt, you can feel that flesh is firmed up and the colour's changed. That's exactly where I want it to be. So I just need to rinse all that salt off now. You can smell all that Arak and lemon and cinnamon in there. And I'm just going to start slicing that fish about 1 to 2 millimetres. All right, time to make the dressing. Spring onions. All I'm going to do is just pull off the little sort of daggy excess bits. The whole thing straight on the charcoal grill. This vinaigrette's not just there to cut the flavour of the fish, it's also to give it some sort of freshness. Fresh shallots, just diced up, straight in the bowl. So I've got some preserved lemons, and what I'm doing is just taking out the guts, because I'm going to use the skin. And these preserved lemons are great because they've had time to soften, and now you can eat the skin and you can eat the flesh. I've got some Aleppo pepper from Syria, really sweet, really spicy. Same pepper, one's more caramelised than the other. Just a little pinch of the red and about the same amount of the black. But this stuff is intense, so just a real little bit. You need a bit of liquid. We're gonna give it some olive oil and now lemon juice. So I'll grab those spring onions. They're great, nicely charred. Over to my board. So all I wanted to do was get a bit of that smoke and that char flavour in there and let that smokiness from that onion end up in that vinaigrette. All that's left to do is plate up, and I love this bit. A bit of my favourite Japanese Kewpie mayo. Some of my vinaigrette. That's great. This is what I loved about the Meze. Everything was fresh. Everything was sort of really vibrant and fresh and sweet. And that's what I want to try to get happening in this dish. And that is a beautiful Zahle Meze.
My final Meze plate, the Freekeh, is just about done. And just like Ramsay, I'm frying some nuts in daka warma. And because I love the smoky flavour so much, I'm mixing in some charred eggplant. But there's one more ingredient I reckon's going to bring this dish to life. Poached eggs.
But these aren't the poached eggs that you're used to seeing. What I've got here is a circulator. What this does is it circulates the water and keeps it at an optimum temperature, or whatever you set it at. And this is set at 64 degrees. And I'm gonna cook these eggs for 45 minutes. What that's gonna do, it's gonna cook the egg in there, but still keep it nice and translucent. And when I crack it open, it's gonna be a beautiful shaped egg. Look at that.
And with that, it's time to plate up my last Meze plate.
All right, they are done. And you can smell all that spice. It's gone all through the birds. That is definitely the flavour of the Bekaa. And the last bit, a good grate of cheese, a few little herbs. And that's one smoky, earthy Bekaa Valley Freekeh.
And now that I'm done, I can have that glass of wine. Meze is all about sharing. Food, stories, wine and culture. And it's been an amazing experience to gorge by the gorge that began this tradition. But next time...
I must be good luck.
Yeah.
warmer weather calls as I head to the south of Lebanon.
No cling films, no preservatives, Real fresh.
Where goats roam the hinterland,
This area is so much drier. I suppose goats and dried za'atar would be some of the only things that would actually grow around here.
and pop-up restaurants line the beach.
Looks yummy, huh?
I'm eating it with my eyes already.